Haynes, and welcome to my Hot Licks video. We're going to be talking about a lot of the things that have helped me as a player through the years learn to understand and appreciate from listening and demonstration: vibrato, punctuation, pitch, tonality, tone, intonation. A lot of these things that help you as a player get from point A to point B to point C to point Z eventually, and hopefully beyond. One of the things that has always helped me as a player is an understanding of the blues and how the blues is utilized in all rock and roll music and all rock influenced music. A lot of people think that the blues is just a simple thing and a simple scale that anybody can play, but the blues is something much deeper than that, that's been here for such a long time, and an understanding of the blues is only going to help any guitar player, and any musician for that matter. And the only way you can really understand the blues is by studying it and seeing the differences in the way the same people play the same notes, only different. And a lot of interpretation in that way is the vibrato, is the pitch or the tone that separates one person playing the same blues scale from another person playing the blues scale. So before we get started playing, let's get in tune. Here's my high E. It's important when playing the blues or music that's influenced by the blues to recognize the differences in the attacks that and the nuances that make the notes sound different. For example, if I'm playing it sounds that way with a soft attack, and with a harder attack there's a lot of gray area in between, so you can make the notes sound differently by changing the attack. The ones that you want to come out more, you attack harder, which in addition to changing the volume, changes the tone. So if you wanted to be subtle except for certain notes, so the attack really plays an important part in playing the blues, or any kind of music for that matter, as well as the vibrato. You can play it without the vibrato, but to put the vibrato on the key notes that you want to accent, really brings out the emotion in your playing. There's so many ways of interpreting the same notes and the same scales that, and that's what really makes the difference from one player to another. You can really hear a huge difference from when one person plays a certain lick or a certain scale and another person, and it's really important to try and come up with your own style, and the way you do that is by learning as much from other people as you can and blending it into a style of your own. So if you're playing a blues scale, like the one I just played, which is like a Muddy Waters lick really, you can vary that in so many different ways. To say a lot with just a few notes, you know. B.B. King could say everything with one note, you know, and it's not so important to play so many notes, but to mean the notes that you actually do play. And sometimes the hardest thing to learn is what notes to leave out and what spaces to put in. So if you're playing Sometimes that can mean more than go. It brings out the way you're feeling at the time, and a lot of playing the blues or playing blues-oriented music is to communicate what you're feeling to the people that are listening to you. And it's a process that takes a lot of learning and a lot of studying, but the more you can do that, the more you can have your own style and separate yourself from others. Different types of vibrato apply as well. You can use a faster vibrato like B.B. King would use. Or you can use a slower type vibrato like Albert Collins. And there's a big difference. A lot of times what you're trying to emulate will be the vibrato of a singer, of like a singer's voice, because a lot of the old great blues players, that's what they were doing. They were trying to make their instrument sound like a voice, and the vibrato is no exception. You want it to sound like a human voice vibrato. So if you're playing an intense passage, you may want a quicker, more intense vibrato. If you're playing a more subtle passage, you may want a more subtle, slower vibrato. So an example. Then if you want to get more intense with it, and mixing the two together sometimes is a way of conveying what you're really feeling, because emotions are a combination of anger, of passion, of joy, and you want to express all these things in your playing, and only you know how you really feel. The ideal situation is to get to a point to where your emotions come through in your playing and you don't have to think about them, because really to play your best you shouldn't be thinking or analyzing, you should just be feeling and playing. So if you're playing a blues passage, you play it softer, and it takes on a sad, somber sort of quality. When you hit the same thing, even harder. Expresses bits of anger, bits of frustration coming out that is definitely a part of the blues, you know. Vibrato is an important thing. Eric Clapton said the hardest thing maybe for a guitar player to accomplish is a very natural sounding vibrato. It takes a lot of work. The kind of vibratos that I use tend to come from the forearm, and even shaking the guitar some. You can help, the weight of the wood can help you with your vibrato. It's not all in the fingers, it's not all in the wrist. When you watch B.B. King play, once again, it's all an animated movement of his arm, and you have to find the one that's right for you, or the different ones that are right for you. And vibrato can play a very important part in coming up with your own style. So let's talk about